Welcome to PM Now, the project management podcast of Erste Group IT. My name is Patrick Sabo and I will be your host. In this episode, we will talk about applying Agile principles in traditional regulatory projects. So let's introduce our guests. Delivery Manager Eona Sauli, responsible for creating a productive environment to enable teams bringing value in the organization. A Senior Program and Project Manager Tomáš Kubánek, responsible for managing critical regulatory projects. And our special guest, Head of Division Christian Miszewski, responsible for solutions and projects in the market, liquidity risk and compliance area, and for a great team delivering more and more using Agile methodologies. Christian, you're leading a portfolio of big regulatory projects where the go-to approach is the waterfall standard. What was your motivation to give Agile a chance to your portfolio?
Yes, hello, Patrick. First of all, let me thank you for the opportunity to share our experience here with you. Indeed, let's say usually we applied the traditional waterfall approach in the past to deal with these projects, but we had to find out that more and more, let's say, also regulatory projects are shifting deadlines, which also means that we have to replan, let's say, and to do a lot of administrative steps in order to rework, let's say, the calculations, the business case, the approval process. And in some of the projects, this happened even many times. So we had to rethink an approach how to deal with the change, with the ongoing change. And this led us, let's say, to applying Agile methodologies. And let's say even now in one of the latest big regulatory projects, which we changed to a waterfall approach, we had now the chance and the opportunity to work with Tomáš as the project manager and with the owner as the Agile coach here, bringing a big experience in this project and turning the project then into a clear Agile setup. So this was very helpful and was very well welcomed by our business colleagues. And this is usually the feedback. Business highly welcomes now the agility and the focusing to their requirements and the speed behind it.
As I have noticed, Eona have been assigned to use her experience and take responsibility to set up and lead teams using lean principles of adaptive project management. Eona, what was your first experience compared to your expectations when getting on board?
Well, I was assigned to work with teams, which the modus operandi for years was pretty waterfall. And let me quote waterfall. There is a certain management overhead in big organizations and corporations, which is shadowing the actual work to be done. And sometimes shifting the concept of pre-alignments and alignments and meetings and pre-meetings to a linear approach might take a little effort and time. But to make a long story short, the teams I joined knew that there was a need for a change, and they were pretty open to try new methods of working. This made my work way easier and made the transition smoother in a way. The first challenge which I faced was actually assigning the right people to the roles. When organizations adopt first principles of Agile, usually they go by the book. They assign a product owner, and they're expecting that the product owners and the team and the Scrum Master or the facilitator is executing by the book what is expected from them. But they always forget the environment, the culture, and the team behind it. So this was something that I had to jump right into it at the very beginning in order to create a culture where learning and transparency was our go-to and our guide.
Tomáš, do you consider applying agility as a good step after some period of time? How can you successfully manage such a combined project with using both waterfall and adaptive methodology?
I came to this project before from coming from, let's say, different area. And this different area was more or less focusing doing the project in classical waterfall approach. So basically, I was coming from the area which was very much focused on doing things in waterfall style, and then I have to admit that at the very beginning I was, let's say, skeptical doing the things differently. Of course, I joined several trainings and discussions about agility, but really like living it in a daily life is something different. basically, when I joined the project, there was already taken this decision that one stream would go in agile mode. So it was kind of a proof for all of us. And let's say by seeing how this stream is performing well, with the support of Aona, and of course with the support from management, there started also discussion with the key stakeholders about applying this agile mode also to other streams.
So Tomasz, because I saw I'm accompanying this project from the very beginning, and honestly, also let's say from management point of view, this was quite a change. So before you came to the project, we had to do this decision, let's say, on management level. But what was more important, we need also to bring all the stakeholders on board and also communicate it to the people. So for you, it was maybe a new approach, but also for the team, because we switched the project in between, yes. And here, let's say, also people made their first experiences with agile methodologies. But for me, it would be interesting to understand what was for you, let's say, the change where you said this is actually totally different.
I mean, for me, like one of the major changes, or let's say one of the maybe I'm not sure if this is about the change or this is about like kind of a challenge. But one of the major challenge for me is on one side, or challenges on one side, is to somehow bring the team together, of course, with the whole team, to bring the team to this new agile style work on one side. But on the other side, as much as important is also to communicate properly to other key stakeholders in the project, and that does not mean only, let's say, the people who are close to the project, like a business owner or a project mentor, but also the stakeholders which are, I don't know how to call them, but the units that are doing some kind of back office activities, let's say, for the project, so for controlling. So this is one of the major challenges that I see, that to bring some kind of, or to bring some interface between the project that is trying to work in agile mode and to deliver the things in more flexible way or adaptive way, and then to, on the other side, to still answer and support units that are, let's say, still living in some framework that is more supporting waterfall approach.
As you understand. So being agile, but also having to communicate with the, let's say, waterfall and classical approach outside the world of the project. This was the challenge.
Yeah, exactly.
What I've noticed to support team in applying agility, it's absolutely essential to have an agile coach on board. So one of the first steps was also to bring Geona into the team, because the team was new on that. So I would say it was a pretty difficult situation for you, Geona, and quite challenging at the beginning. Was it like this?
Yes, exactly. So basically, I was invited to join in the position of coaching, practicing agile guidelines and so on. But then my role changed to a delivery manager. And you would ask me, why does a project, or a big project like what we are working together with Tomasz, need a project manager and a delivery manager? So sometimes it might be absurd. But I think that in such size project, there is the need of having these two roles, and between us there is a clear definition of what I am doing and what Tomasz is doing. Let me say that what my concern is, and what I tried to do since day one that I joined the project and the team, was my first priority was to establish a team health and happiness. So basically, I had to protect the team from any political or any unnecessary distraction that was distracting them for doing the day-to-day work. And this is my primary focus on the daily stand-ups, is focusing in our goals. It doesn't matter if it is a sprint, it does not matter if it is a monthly goal or an iteration. My primary goal is this. And on the day-to-day, then I need to help delivery support. And delivery support is a technical task, team guidance, and so forth. And there is an overhead, which is coordination, stakeholder management, budgeting, and resource management, and all of these things, which is Tomasz managing so wonderfully. And this is how we don't really overlap with each other.
maybe I have to also when talking about the role of in the projects, I have to also admit that I see how important is the who is, let's say, doing this role of Scrum Master slash delivery manager, or delivery manager slash Scrum Master. Yeah, maybe this is one of my takeaways also from applying this Agile in this project. Uh, and it is something what is in contrary what I thought based on the trainings, or based on what I was told during the training, that basically the Scrum Master should be a kind of servant leader, so basically should be rather accommodating the team. But I think that the who is doing the delivery manager and the Scrum Master really matters. Yeah, so definitely I see as a very important that there is somebody who has experience in leading people, in driving people, in supporting people or the team. Yeah, let's put it like this. So this is really something what is very important. So I see that not everybody can do this role. Yeah, so this is something which is definitely makes a difference.
Correct. So I can just, let's say, confirm this, because I have an overview about several projects, and let's say also several personalities of agile coaches and scrum masters. And this is really important. And usually I say we are in a banking business, in the IT business, but most important, we are in a people business, and it's all about teams and, let's say, the cooperation. So I can fully, let's say, support this. In addition to that, let's say, I think we changed, let's say, also to this 2 weeks sprint approach. So we applied, let's say, the Scrum methodology for the project. And how was this for the team? I mean, they had to participate in much more meetings, more effective ones, smaller ones. But at the beginning, usually the feedback was a bit mixed. Iona, correct?
Well, the teams that I started to work with at the beginning were already trying to apply for a month or two a Scrum methodology. They were not very successful in that. They had a 40% completion rate. And the only failure that I found at the beginning was that the scope was not really defined properly, and the team had too many tickets to solve within a sprint. Well, it's true that at the beginning the speed is not known, but also it's true that the tickets or the work to be done during the sprint or whenever you start an iteration should be well prepared before. And this preparation, many projects and many teams don't take this seriously. Refining sessions in newly adapted teams is very important. So basically, it's at the beginning it takes some challenge, but as you go along, it becomes a routine. Teams find it very hard to accept refining, to accept that we are working these 2 weeks on this scope, but we must prepare the scope for the next 2 weeks or for next month, for next 3 months, whenever the requirement is ready. So this for me took a little bit of challenge to get it in the, let's say, in the day-to-day business. But once it's running, the teams are actually requiring to do refining sessions.
Tomáš, do you experience that while a team is working fully on an agile mode, business or the customers always want to have some kind of a time plan, ideally a project plan with clearly defined milestones and deadlines, which do not really go hand in hand with the agile approach? So what was your impression to these kind of requests?
I think this was one of those things that we started when I took over a project. We had a discussion in the management team how to how to how to plan the overall thing and how to also to track the overall thing. I mean, there was a discussion that when we are agile, there might be several changes in the scope, and then it's very hard to estimate, and then it's very hard to plan. But basically, I think we unified, all of us unified, that we need some roadmap. We need some roadmap, not only because of, let's say, key stakeholders and management to report, but we also needed some kind of roadmap for us, because we needed to track. We needed to track. We needed to track where we are, but we needed also to communicate like to the team, because the roadmap is not only about planning and tracking, but it's also about it's a tool for communication. It's the way how it's something that you can talk to the team, so also the team knows what is expected. So I think that definitely another takeaway is that regardless whether this is agile or maybe because it's agile, definitely you need to plan also. The thing is that you need to be prepared for some, let's say, more this rolling wave planning. So you need to be ready that you need to adopt after some time, because you see how the project is progressing, you see how each stream is completing the task, how the team is successful with completing the task, and based on these inputs, you are updating the whole roadmap. Yeah. So this is something what is definitely important. Yeah. What I also wanted to say is that something what we discussed before is how, I mean, how surprising for me is that actually running project in Agile, how much it puts more control over the team. Yeah. Maybe I was getting not correct information from let's say training sessions that I had before. Maybe I misunderstood the main messages from those sessions. But basically, what I found out that using the agile artifacts is very much about the control, because as Aona mentioned, it's a lot of about the planning. So the team is planning, let's say, each 2 weeks. The team is meeting daily to check the status of the task, also to plan the day. So there is a lot of time spent for planning, for tracking, and then for communicating. So at the end, actually using these agile artifacts, you can have much more up-to-date information about status than in classical waterfall, when you agreed with some people from your team that they would prepare some specification in, let's say, in 1 month, and then for 1 month it will be more or less up to them to manage them on themselves. So here in these in using the agile artifacts, like everything is more up to date, and of course then this I can then better communicate on the key stakeholders, and of course then key stakeholders have a feeling about having better overview about the project, and then they might have a feeling also that the project is better managed in some way. Yeah.
No, correct. This was also my experience. Let's say it's always the fear about losing control of the customer, put it like this. And this took us some time to convince the customer that you have even more control, even on a daily basis. You can go to the Kanban board and check the tasks which are currently under preparation. Yes. Now also, let's say with this learning, now we transformed more or less all the projects to an agile approach, being able to give full control to our customer, and also the flexibility to change if required. And this was the key to the success.
This I definitely fully agree. Again, like maybe I misunderstood some messages from before, because I got agile as kind of as ideology of full freedom, but I would say it's definitely, if not in contrary to that, definitely it's not like that. Yes, the people have a right to choose on daily basis. Let's say the team is let's say can decide what to prioritize in these daily stand-ups or in the planning. So there is definitely some freedom and some reliability on or some.
If I can add a note here, I noticed that one of the principles of Agile is self-managed teams, and I think I've had some visitors in our stand-ups and our routines where they're just watching how we do it, and then they learn or they see how we fail so they can do better. I noticed that they see that we are not so self-managed, which means the teams still need a kind of direction, a kind of like, please do this or you have to do this. This is very, very normal in organizations which are operating for 100 years in a modus which I tell you what to do and then you do it and then you report to me. It's not easy to change into self-management. So basically what we have to do with the team is prepare tasks for them to pick up when they are ready. This is not always happening because you still need a little bit of like a shuffling and a bit of direction. So this should not be first expectation when you adopt from waterfall to agile, that it will magically work overnight and then the team will be happily serving itself.
Yeah, here I would.
So I'm hoping that this is an understanding which improved over time. I'm hoping, Tomasz.
I would definitely agree here. Again, I would come back to previous, let's say, discussion when we said how important is the role of delivery manager slash Scrum Master. So here I would allow myself still to be a bit skeptical in the terms of self-managed team. I think that this is also based on some circumstances. So we are, let's say, talking about big giant tech companies having employees on, let's say, less than 30 years old. Maybe they have a bit different motivation that people working in a bank. I mean, this is not in a bad way or good way. This is like it is. Yeah. And I still see very important that these teams have definitely some kind of some level of freedom, but there is still also some management stepping in, either in a role of delivery manager, scrum master, or project manager, or higher, that is somehow giving them at least direction in which the project should go.
Correct. Let's say from setting the environment, also let's say it was my challenge to explain to my colleagues in the team, let's say the expectation to switch from a push to a pull approach, meaning that the people pull the task more or less yes actively when they finished the task before. Yes, and they drive, let's say, their work. This is really a challenge. It is still. So what I can do, of course, discuss with the people, also how to say, adapt their yearly objectives and make it very clear, put it also in an objectives discussion for the yearly performance talks. But in the end, this switch is really a challenge. And I think this is the bigger challenge for an agile coach, delivery manager, from doing it on a daily basis here. If there is one sentence to say at the end from my point of view is actually we change and switch now more or less all projects to an agile approach. And the business feedback is very good. So I did not receive any feedback to go back to the waterfall world again. So this is for me, let's say, a motivation to still invest in this agile setup and go forward with the approach. And thanks for the opportunity for let's say sharing the experience here with you.
I have to say that I've worked for other companies before, but once I joined Agile, I've had a certain freedom where I could test and explore myself and the teams together, trying new things and new methodologies. And I'm very happy for that. I'm very happy to have the freedom from the management and support. Otherwise, I could not have made so much progress with the team in the project. So thank you.
Maybe from my side, I think it's in the whole world. What is getting more and more important is that life is getting much faster, and I think all of us and all companies needs to react faster and faster. And basically, I think from my point of view, everything is about shortening time to market or time to delivery in our case. So I see that these agile or adaptive methods give us the tools how to be more flexible, how to deliver the outcomes and the results faster, and in a way that we can present these results in transparent way to business. So this is definitely what I see as a future. So I'm also happy that we go in this direction, and I would like to also thank to management for supporting this direction, and lucky. I'm happy being in this project.
That's all for today. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. Stay tuned and see you at our next episode.